Okay, good. Okay. Hello, Sue. First of all, thank you. It's just been a joy, putting this little partnership we've had together. I've been following you for way too long, and my one of my goals in being able to have this relationship is I want a lot of other people to be able to follow you because what you've accomplished is amazing. Does it surprise you, like that you're still up, running, rolling, and can still hoop and play the way you play and keep going?
Sometimes it does. Yeah. Mostly when I'm with my friends, my age, some of which, played basketball, some played in the WNBA. And every now and then they'll kind of say something to me like, dang, you're still playing, like, dang, I retired 5 years ago. You're still going. So yeah, that. And then when with each new rookie class, I'm reminded of the fact that I'm getting older because they're so young.
And they're getting younger. But you seem
Yeah.
you seem to have a couple of different levels when I watch you play, though, where you can actually still, get into that younger self every now and then. There's like that little trigger I see every now and then.
I think when you get older, what happens is like you just get a little smarter on using that next level, I guess, or that like dose of energy. You're like, let me save this for a moment in the game where either A, I can actually do something with it, or B, it's like, gonna be I caught a clip of myself as a rookie like a month ago or so. I was running all over the place. I was over here, I was over there, all this wasted energy. I think when you get older, you just learn how to conserve.
I got to ask you about a couple of teammates, and it'd be easy talking about them than about yourself. But I guess when I think about collectability, I have to start off with the GOAT, Diana Taurasi. Mm-hmm. You've had some. First of all, tell me about what it's like to play those 5 gold medal championships with her. What's that like, being her teammate again? Because you guys oppose each other all the time, but now you're together. What's that like?
It's so fun, because that's how our relationship started. Both our friendship off the court and our chemistry on the court. It started in college when we were teammates. So I feel like anytime we can get back to being teammates versus, like you said, playing against each other in the WNBA, it's always welcome. It feels like it's just so comfortable. It feels like you're coming home in a way. So that's always how the Olympics are. Truth be told, I mean, as we were approaching this 5th one, I think both of us were kind of like, well, I'm not doing it if you're not doing it. So it was almost like a deal between the two of us, because it just wouldn't be as fun. I feel so lucky. I've been able to experience, like you said, 5 gold medals with my best friend. So it's really tough to trade that in.
Besides the obvious with her, what surprises me is that every time I do watch her play, there's something added onto her game. She's still adding on to her game. She had a little Steph Curry in her this year. Like all of a sudden, it looked like she'd been working out with Steph with that quick release thing, that kind of Steph does. But like, is there a secret to her sauce? Is there something that we don't know that that?
Yeah, I mean, this is not something necessarily people don't know, but she puts in the work. I mean, we played overseas in Russia together for, I think, 7 seasons, and you would have to beg her not to go in on the day off. You'd have to like sit her down and be like, listen, you actually need to rest your body. And she's like, no, I need to get some shots up. It'll be fine. I just need to get some shots up. So I think for her, that's where she gets her mojo. That's where she gets her confidence, from working on her game. So she's just always doing it. Now, like, back into the older lady conversation, as you get older, you do have to like tone that down a little bit. But I think that's something that people may not believe. You should believe if you're a great player, it's probably because you put the work in, but D is the definition of a gym rat.
I could see that. Brianna Stewart probably never lost anything in her life. She probably wins the lottery even when she plays. I mean, it's just, but also so silent, seamless.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Bill Russell. Like, whatever it takes to win, I'm good. I got a rebound, defense. She can bring the ball up. What's it like? What's she really like, though?
That's really what she's like. Stewie has this, how they say ignorant bliss? Like in Stewie's case, she only knows winning. So there's just this air about her, like, almost like she just doesn't know what losing is. So when someone asks her, like, oh, what are your, hopes for this coming season? Or what do you think's going to happen in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years? She'll literally just hit you with a shrug and be like, what do you mean? I'm going to win. Like, what do you mean we're going to win? Like everything, that's how everything is framed for her. And there's like a childlike aspect about it because, like I said, that ignorance is bliss. She just doesn't know any different. Whereas, for myself, sadly, I've lost some big games. So I'm like, I'm very aware of that. I know. So I'm always fearful of it. So for her, she's not really scared of it. She's just like, no, this is what I do. I win. Oh, it's a big game. Oh, this is what I do. I play well in big games. Like there's no question around it. And it's not cocky. There's a confidence there, but it's not cocky. There's no ego. It's not like that at all. She's literally just childlike about it. She's like, shrug.
Like a swagger.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, it comes, I don't know, to me, it's not even, because swagger kind of it can be connected to a cockiness. She has this swagger, but it's just real.
And one of the things I love about doing your collectibles, and I've now been following you from Long Island high school all the way through, is that a lot of young girls can look up to you because they almost can relate size wise. You're relatively a normal, regular looking athlete, which is, I mean, always want to play the NBA, but I'm like, I'm 5'7". I'm nothing like those guys. It's never going to work for me. What do you tell your younger self? What do you tell the younger kids, especially look up to you? And so many do, because the point guard position is such an important position in women's basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. Sometimes when I have talked to the younger generations, I'm not that tall. I'm only 5'9". So in my world, I'm short, and I'm fast, but I'm not the fastest. And I'm like pretty quick. I'm not the quickest. So what I try to, especially if I'm talking to someone who plays the point guard position, it's 100% what I emphasize, which is I feel like I'm the type of player that, I've proven and I've showed that you can have an impact on the game, and it doesn't have to do with your athletic attributes, right? Your IQ, you can use your smarts, you can use, being a good teammate. You can have a mentality, like a selfless mentality where you want, everyone to play well and you want the team to play well, and you can have huge success in that. And I think it's important because nowadays, as you know, everything's about the highlight. Everything's about, someone tweeting about you or writing about you in social media. So that can, like what I've just explained, can get lost in this new world we live in. So it is nice, I think, to remind the younger generations that it's not just about, the highlight shot or the highlight pass. There's so many ways to impact the game.
Do you have a player, a woman player particularly, that you looked up to growing up, or was it a male player growing up?
Yeah. So, well, I ended up having a woman. It took until it was like 1994, 95. So, or maybe more like 95, 96 going into the Olympics, actually. So it took until I was 15 years old to find, the female athlete that I could look up to, identify with, and it's Jen Azey. And I say identify with because people mistake us for each other all the time. And, when I saw her on the 96 Olympic team, that was my see it, be it moment. Because before then, there just weren't women on TV to just, I couldn't just sit down, turn on ESPN and watch, WNBA games. It didn't even exist. So it was really cool to see that. Like I said, that was my see it, be it moment. And I think my favorite that I actually got to share that with her this year, right before we went to Tokyo, we were in Vegas for some exhibition games. She was there. And I just got to have a moment with her when I was like, hey, listen, you don't even know this, but when I was, 14, 15 years old and I saw you on the Olympic team, that's when I knew there was a chance for me. So I was really glad that I got to share that. And of course, as you get older in this, you hope you're that for some little kid someday.
Oh, I don't think there's a doubt. And that my goal is to make sure that the little kid can express the love they have for you. And it's amazing now that I'm getting a little more in the world, how much there is a lot of love for you. There's a lot of love for you, really. And that's great. I mean, that's a tribute to how far the game has come. You've been carrying this game with some others, and it's nice to see the dividends. Do you have one moment? Do you have like a couple favorite moments when you look back that you treasure a little more than the others?
Yeah, I do. I think, I've been really lucky to both my senior year of high school and my senior year of college win the last game that I played. So we were state champions in high school, which was amazing. And then, I mean, even more so in college, because it's obviously just so difficult to win a national championship in college. But I don't have any regret when I look back on those experiences. You know, a lot of athletes, there's only one team that wins, right? So there's only like one roster that's going to be happy. So I feel really lucky that I can say that. And then of course, the first gold medal, the first WNBA championship, like anytime it's the first, it does have a little bit of extra. But I mean, and I've said this publicly before, I think what's going to go down is like, I don't even know how to describe it really, because it's not one moment. It's the fourth quarter against Phoenix, game 5, semifinals. So a elimination game, 2018. There's a bug in here.
You lit it up. You lit it up. You were on fire. And also who you were on fire against.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a lot of storylines. I'd just broken my nose. Diana's never lost. Phoenix Mercury have never lost in an elimination game. So there was just so much happening. And like I said, it's not one moment because it was the whole game. It was the fourth quarter. It was like what it meant. But I don't know from like an individual standpoint. The championship is always what matters. But just from an individual moment, I don't know that I have anything like that. I've hit game winners, but that's like one shot. You know what I mean? This was like a stretch.
You took that game over, period.
Yeah, and I haven't really done that. So I'm happy that's on my resume.
You're like, everybody just needs to step aside. I'm about to take the thing over. We're about to finish this thing up. And it was an amazing game. It was an amazing series.
Yeah, no, the series was pretty epic. There's a lot of highs and lows to it.
What do you think about the whole collectible thing for women? Like, it almost gets me frustrated, you know, when I think about like that. It's just so uneven when I think about some of the greatness there are in women's sports, even moving away from just the WNBA, soccer. I mean, I was watching a volleyball game the other day, college volleyball game. I mean, it was unbelievable. The level of play, the talent, softball now drawing 8,000-10,000 fans. Like, that's what's frustrating me, the unevenness of it all. Like, how do you feel about, you know, now finally women being able to kind of, in a way, it's just put some light onto some of the moments, some of the stuff you've accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions in women's sports and you know, how people look at women's sports. And a lot of times it's because we're compared to our male counterpart, which, you know, in the case of basketball, they've just had, I mean, I love the NBA. I love men's basketball. I'm an avid watcher. The comparisons just aren't fair because they literally have 50 years on us. So people see that product now and immediately look at us and they're like, oh, you only get 12,000 a game? Psh, that's terrible. But when reality is 12,000 a game is pretty good, right? Like you just mentioned softball getting 8 to 10, college basketball. I know where I went to school at UConn, we sold out. The building held 10,000. Our building in Hartford held 16. We sold out every game. And so, like I said, I think it's just a lot of, it depends how you look at things, right? Everything's about perspective. The one thing I love about women's sports is the engagement. So I think, you know, I actually was just talking about this the other day on Ryan Ruocco's podcast, RTC2. And when you think about engagement, that to me is the key to women's sports. So you might have someone who has, whether it's an individual player or a league who has, you know, 10 million followers on Twitter or Instagram, whatever. And so, yeah, a WNBA player might not have that, but the people that do follow a WNBA player, that engagement, like how connected they are, the ways in which they support, that to me is the story of where the growth of women's basketball is and where it's going to go. Because that fan base is legit, and they love us. They'll do anything to support us. They follow our careers. So when you have a passionate fan base like that, the growth is inevitable. Now we just have to kind of bob and weave our way around the ways in which we've been held back, whether you talk about TV coverage, like media coverage, corporate sponsorship,
licensing, collectibles.
Yeah, I was getting to that. It's like all of these areas, we've just never really had a chance to tap into them. But now, like you said, the light is being shown. You can't deny it. And it's starting to grow. And I think that the sky's the limit in that way.
And I think the products, you know, the thing that I try to express to my friends, you know, I have a bunch of guys, we're sitting around talking, a bunch of morons, because they're like, I'm like, guys, this is extraordinary stuff going on here. Like, it doesn't really matter, like you watched something 20 years ago, you have something in your head, but this is really extraordinary. I've talked to people off the ledge and into the TV room, and they're like, man, did you see that softball game yesterday? I'm like, yes, I did. It was unbelievable, right? I'm like, yeah, I don't believe I've been missing this. And that's what I feel with a lot of my basketball friends. So like once I turn them on to it, they're like, wow, those women are shooting the lights out. And also the physicality too. You know, that was always a knock. Now there's a lot more physicality. So you see progress.
Your friends probably caught a game in like, I'm not trying to date anybody, but maybe like, we'll call it the 90s, the early 90s. And they think, oh, that's how women's basketball always is, whether maybe 70s, 80s, but no, of course it evolves just like the men's game has evolved. Like we evolve.
Nancy Lieberman.
Yeah. Well, she could play now.
Lady Magic, but I've still played with her recently and she still got, doesn't even warm up. Elbows. I've seen her play in like in the G League game, 30 years ago and hold her own with men.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't really get the credit she deserves, but like, were you following her when you were younger? Was that somebody that impact?
I know I didn't really follow her. She was done, which is sad because obviously for women, it was like you went to college and that was it. And maybe you went overseas, but as a 10-year-old, I'm not going to see that, So like, no, really, it wasn't until that 90. So in 95, they did a huge tour. So I actually, the women's national team did before the Atlanta Olympics, and they played at the Palestra in one of these like exhibition games. They played against China, and my AAU coach took me and some of my teammates. And that was when I saw that national team. That's when I saw Jen Azey in person. And that's, like I said earlier, the see it be it moment. But yeah, when was I going to see Nancy Lieberman play? When was I going to see Ann Myers and Carol Blazdowski? Like, when was I going to see these players? You couldn't. I could barely even see Lisa Leslie. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it is. Obviously, it's different now, which is amazing.
Do you have a favorite piece of collectibles yourself? Do you have like a motivational collectible that you like?
I do have a couple jerseys. I have a Ray Allen signed Milwaukee Buck jersey. We played in Milwaukee my senior year for the regionals, and he took Ray's amazing. He took our whole team out to dinner. Obviously a UConn grad himself, and he gave all of us a signed jersey. So I have that. I do have a Mike Bibby jersey, like I said.
Where is that connection?
So it's funny. I just did an interview earlier where I talked about this. So I was about to say, like I said, but I didn't say it here. So Mike Bibby, my all-time favorite player. The minute I saw him when he was in Arizona, I was obsessed. And It's, as it turns out, there's just so many similarities. Like, he wears number 10, I wear number 10. He's a scoring point guard. And I feel like in that moment of time, there weren't that many scoring point guards. Point guards were always the one, they dribbled it up, they passed it, good job, go stand in the corner. But Mike Bibby was like, nah, I'm shooting this too. So I feel like I'm kind of there's a couple of us that I would say started the whole scoring point guard thing in the women's game. And so that's another similarity. And then I actually became friends with him like shortly after that. So I have his jersey. He knows I have it, and he knows I want it signed. So I have to get it signed, but I do have a Mike Bibby jersey that will come eventually. What else? Oh, I have some
sneakers.
Yeah, I have some signed sneakers. But the 5 things, and you're gonna know where I'm going with this, that I have, the only things I have hanging in my house. So everything else I kind of keep. I have some stuff, like everything else kind of low profile. I have 5 posters, sorry, from each Olympics. So Athens, Beijing, London, Rio, Tokyo, signed by the team. And and I have those 5 posters hanging in my house. So those are probably like the ones that are closest to me.
That makes sense. I like that. What's up with your sneaker wardrobe, man? I hear you got a very, very serious kick library.
Getting ridiculous. Yeah, I would say like 5 years ago, I was cleaning my closets, just like an annual thing. And, it was around then that the sneaker craze was starting. And I was like, all right, let me post some of my old shoes. I have like all the Seattle Storm PEs that Nike's ever done. I have, so from every single season, all my Olympic Ps, my college, like you name it. So I started posting them. And like, after a while, I was kind of like, dang, I have a lot of sneakers. So I didn't even mean to be a collector or a sneakerhead. I was just kind of keeping them for like nostalgic purposes, you know? And then here we are. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to build like a sneaker house soon because I'm running out of space.
I mean, some women want a closet for their shoes. Now it's now expanded out to the sneaker library. But that's cool. I'm shocked as I'm dealing with more women players at their style, and they've got really cool kicks. And also they take some of the stuff they're wearing a lot more seriously than I thought.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Like even Stewie has some really cool kicks.
Yeah.
That she's been sending us. Really, really cool.
Yeah. All of us have and I have all the shoes that I've worn in, literally every championship game I've ever played in. I've kept all those shoes. So we talked about game 5 against Phoenix. That earlier that day, I got a pair. It was the Kyrie 4s. I'm drawing a blank on the name of them. The Green Lobsters. If you saw them, you would get it. So I had just had those sent to me that day, and I was like, "Oh, should I wear them for this game?" And I'm so thankful I did, because it was like an epic pair. Now it's connected to an epic game. I've not worn them since, and I have them. They're in my the office that we have. I have them up, hanging up there.
Nice. So you are really a little bit of a collector, and what I love about it is, and I think the fans are going to love this, like the way, when we talked about signing some stuff or whatever, you did a great job. I mean, I think people are going to really appreciate some of this stuff, and you did pull some stuff out of your attic.
I got more. That was just one attic. I have like 8 attics in this life. So
we're going to help you clear all that out. The fans are loving you, man. I'm telling you. What do you think about the future do you think there'll be a woman cave? When you walk into somebody's house, there'll be all these great women. You have these guys like, oh, I got Jordan and Gretzky. Are you going to see Mia Hamm, Megan?
I'm shocked if it doesn't already exist. I mean, I've had people, fans of, especially in Seattle, because through the years, you come across the same people who come to our games, the season ticket holders who ask you to sign things. And, you fast forward a year, 2 years, and they'll be like, they'll show you a picture. They'll be like, hey, this is my office. And it'll be like all the stuff that I've signed for them. So it's already happened.
I'm running a contest. I want to see. I'm going to ask people to reach out.
You'll get some pretty legit entries to that contest. Anything you want to transfer over? When I think about putting your collection together, and by the way, I really feel honored to do it. Really, I've watched your career, man, right from the beginning. Is anything? What do you want? What do you want people that are collecting you to remember and think about you when they're hanging up some of this stuff and keeping some of your stuff? Yeah. Good question. I think 2 things. One, just that I tried to play the game to win, and it wasn't necessarily about, stats. It was just about trying to win. So with each item that they come across, they can know that if it's a jersey, if it's a pair of sneakers, if it's, a still shot where I'm doing something, all of that was either worn, or like I said, if it's a still shot, you're watching someone who is trying to win at all costs. And I know like my resume says that and speaks for itself in a lot of ways, but it's really true. And I think the other thing is like I just shared with you, like I am a little bit of a collector, and I think it's more for me, it's more that feeling of nostalgia and just, things having sentimental value. And so I do keep the sneakers and the jerseys and certain maybe like mementos that had meaning. Probably to the detriment of my home, but because there's so much stuff. But in the moments where I do get to share that with you, and then you do put it in my store, I mean, those things actually had meaning. Like I kept those practice jerseys, and I kept those uniforms, and I kept those warm-ups like for a reason. So it's great that I can now share that.
Well, thank you for doing that. And what's amazing is I think it brings a lot of light to some of the accomplishments. A lot of it does coming out of winning records. I think that sometimes people don't realize some of the records and some of the accomplishments, whether it be 5 gold medals, a couple of college championships. It's really hard to win those things, when you start putting the body of work together. And that's what I really love to broadcast. And that's what I remember doing with the men back 30 years ago when I started the men collectible thing. Was like, wow, 5,000 strikeouts, 3,000 hits. These were all these little clubs. And that's the clubs I want to create for the women.
Yeah.
I got to ask you two more quick questions. Paige on UConn.
Yeah.
See a little bit in her? Like, do you have that? Do you feel like, and what do you think about her?
Oh, I think she's more Diana than anything. But it is, I mean, it's what I see in her is a player that has a flair, has a swag about her, has a confidence. And that's where I see her similar to Dee in a lot of ways. But the other side of her, and Dee was like this as well, but there's another side of her where she does want to help her teammates. You know, she does enjoy, you could maybe argue she enjoys passing more than anything. So there's a nice balance there where I think as she gets older, she'll start to really tap into, which is, you know, when to set your teammates up, when to kind of be the aggressor and take over games. She's already showing signs of all of those things, you know, and that's the hard part. The hard part is to actually like have that skill set. She has the skill set. And so for her, it'll just be about putting it together.
Special. WNBA question. When you think about the league, obviously, do you see the league expanding? Do you have enough talent in the league to expand? And then give me a couple of unsung heroes in the league that don't get the love and the props, but are really, really good players.
Yeah, no problem. I do think the league needs to expand. It doesn't need to be too fast. I think like one team at a time, even though I've heard different interests from different cities, I don't think it can be too fast because it's not that we don't have the talent, but for so long, we've only been able to give the opportunity to 144 players. Now, the good news is a lot of players who don't make the WNBA still go overseas, are still playing professional basketball. So they're ready, but it's only been offered to 144. So it will take time to continue to build the talent pool. But you know how it is, it's survival of the fittest out there. And the only way to start to build the talent is to give them the opportunity so they can taste it, measure themselves up, and then go from there. So I do think expansion is probably good for the league, but I also think at the same time, we can't go like too many teams too fast. Cause I think that's what happened. We went from, I actually don't remember exactly, maybe like 10 or 12 to 16 in like 1 or 2 seasons. And that ended up being too like much. Yeah. So like a slow roll would be great. But at some point we will have to expand in order to have the talent. And then the players, I mean, I'm going to be Seattle Storm bias 100%, but even though these players are no longer on our team, sadly, Alicia Clark, it's very rare. And I've obviously watched a lot of basketball and I've seen a lot of women. You don't see women improve their game. It's not women. You don't see players improve the way in which Alicia Clark improved her game. And not only that, she was a post player in college. And then she made the transition to become a 3. And you don't see that often either. So a huge shout out to her. She's just that type of player that does all the dirty work, doesn't really get the credit she deserves, and was really the glue. I can say the same thing for Natasha Howard. She's a player that the minute she came onto the Storm, it changed everything. Everything really? Everything. It just fit. She made everybody else, like Stewie was already great. Jewel was already great. You know, obviously myself, AC, we have all these players. And the minute Natasha got dropped in there, everything just, yeah. And Sammy becomes another one I'd throw in there. Like I said, former Seattle Storm player.
How good is Brittany Griner, though? I mean, as far as her growth, how good could she be?
She's the most dominant player in our league. There's, you know, you can argue MVPs and you can argue GOATs and best ever and all that kind of stuff. She is by far the most dominant player. You cannot play against Phoenix. All right, let me rephrase. When you play against Phoenix, the entire game plan has to be about what you're doing against BG. You can't go into that game and be like, oh, you know, we'll just go single coverage and see how it goes. Nah. I don't care. I mean, I guess some teams have that luxury, like Minnesota might have that luxury because they have Sylvia Fowles. Outside of that, and maybe Liz Cambage, but outside of that, nobody's guarding her single coverage. And so your entire game plan is about that. And it's very rare to come across a player who dominates the way that she does. And not just offensively. That's the other thing. She dominates defensively. I mean, we've talked about this 2018 semifinals series against them, there was one game where she fouled out. I think it might have been game 5 even. She fouled out and we were like, thank God. I fouled out.
Do you think she doesn't get the props though, Sue? Like, I mean, I feel like she doesn't get the props. Like, I mean, she could be the next, like, from a basketball perspective, a little bit almost like Bill Russell. Kareem will do it. She throws the hook in there. She's going to be like Jabbar, completely unguardable.
Nah, I mean, she already is unguardable. And to your point, yeah, if she continues to add to her game, but she's gotten better year after year. I mean, even seeing her now versus rookie year, it's incredible what she's accomplished. And I think the best part is, like, she doesn't take crap from anybody on the court, but she's such a good person and such a good teammate, you know? So when you're competing against her, yeah, you know, like, you can't mess with BG. Like, BG will let you know. She'll let you have it. But as a teammate, she's like the sweetest. She just wants to do whatever the team needs. You know what I mean? You almost wish she was a little more selfish because she's so dominant. You want her to do it all the time. But no, BG's amazing.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm excited. I'm going to have an opportunity to work with her. And I feel like, I mean, what I love is that her game has really improved. I've watched her, you know, all the way back to college, and she's definitely working on her game. Her footwork is incredible. I just want to throw the hook in there. I want to throw that Kareem hook in there. I was watching something on Kareem. I'm like, I wonder why Brittany doesn't do that. Like, then it's okay. Then you don't even have time to double team her. Because Kareem would just get the ball and just do that, and it's unbelievable.
Tell her after I retire, you can tell her that.
All right, I won't tell her. I'll share that between us. Well, thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. I love sharing your personal collection. Love getting to know you a little bit, and really, it's been a joy. And you know something? What I was saying this to somebody the other day. I hope we laugh about this one day. I hope we can look back and laugh about all this. That, like, we were actually trying to create a little bit of a, you know, create a whole thing about women collectibles. That was actually something we had to create. That wasn't just a given. And we get the balance on all this.
Yeah, no, it's amazing the work you guys are doing, and all of us are super appreciative. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you. Have a great day. Thank you. Enjoy your summer.
Thanks.
I mean, enjoy your winter vacation on that.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.